You really didn't expect that.
I really didn't.
We were doing the countdown for the video, right? To start the video. I always stand on this side, by the way. And I'm sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, I just thought we were supposed to start with me just talking and being serious, but I never am serious anyway. I don't take myself too seriously. So we had a video, question on how do you deal with confined spaces and dealing with objects on the ground. So actually it's a really good question, because if you think about it, most self-defense scenarios are going to, or situations rather, are going to occur in an environment where there's lots of objects, people. This is quite enclosed, it's not particularly great. We've got pigeons out the window as well.
Yeah, they've come to view.
Yeah. Mark Phillips is teaching. Let's come and watch that. So we've got a couple of things down on the ground. It could be any way and anyhow. Think about it. Let's give you a simple scenario. You're in a confrontation, okay, it's a confined space. Don't tell me why you've ended up in such a small space with a big guy who's attacking you. Bad person that you are. Poor situational awareness. But you're in this situation, so low-level objects are quite good to talk about, and you've also got high-level things as well, which I'm going to bring this into play into a second, okay? If you've got a situation where you've got high-level objects, there's a good chance. I remember once that happened to me. I was in a bar, someone charged at me and went over a table. So generally, if you've got high-level objects, especially waist height, you've got to be really careful there, especially if you're backing up. Because in that situation, I was backing up, and as I was backing up, the guy's charging at me, and I'm trying to make space to fight, because that's the natural thing to do, right? You want to make space. But if you're in a situation where someone's coming at you suddenly, and as they come at you suddenly, you're just trying to back up, you're going to start to fall over things. You're going to start to trip. So this is where, a good thing about what we tend to teach here is circling and moving your legs and pivoting and so on. So we don't necessarily jump backwards. What we tend to do is these ideas where we circle our legs. So I circle my legs, okay? Now it seems quite long-winded. For a lot of people it'll be like, yeah, that's never gonna work, blah, 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 the guy's throwing punches. Well, we spend a lot of time where we're practicing moving, bang, punching, and moving around things, okay? So if you notice, I'm moving around, I'm moving around, okay? I'm moving around, I'm moving around. And here's one thing, look, let's get a bit closer. I know the wall's not too, the wall's a little bit, you're quite close to it. But imagine we're this close and the person's pushing me. If I just fall back, this pot here, let's say it's a solid pot, I'm going to fall over that pot. So essentially what you learn, and actually this is a Wing Chun skill, because we have what we call a wooden dummy. Didn't sound right there. Wooden dummy. My mouth went all funny there. And one of the things, the skills that we learn, if you pan down and watch my feet, is that we learn to circle out and circle in, circle out and circle in, circling out and circle in. Now it seems like a waste of time practicing it, because most guys that box and move and do MMA and so on are going to think, oh, why do I want to do that? Well, if I'm stuck in this sort of environment and there's things on the ground that I don't have time to move away, because remember, this isn't a boxing ring or an MMA cage where I have a nice clear space. This is reality where I've got objects around. Then what I need to be able to do is not step back and fall over it and fall on the ground. And you might think, yeah, that's great because I know how to ground fight. Well, I don't want to be ground fighting on a guy in a street fight, because he might pull a knife out while we're ground fighting and start stabbing me. That's not cool, right? So what I want to do is I want to be able to circle my legs. Okay, so what you're learning to do is to circle your legs. So you're learning essentially to move your legs, okay, not necessarily move your legs, and you can combine it with pivots as well. So you've got this situation where you're moving and you're pivoting. Of course, I'm controlling his arms, because what I don't want to do is just step, not control his arms, because he just goes bang, punches me straight in the head, or lurches or grabs me. So I guess the point of what I'm trying to say with low level objects, learn how to circle your legs and time your hands and legs together. If you practice a style of martial art like Wing Chun, which is what I teach, then you'll learn these techniques, because essentially it's bread and butter for any beginner that starts. Other things that you should consider in an urban environment is anything that's waist height. So, for example, this would be waist height. So obviously, given this to be the case, it's more of a barrier now as opposed to something I can step around. Oh, by the way, before we talk about this, one of the things I wanted to mention, which I completely forgot, is never step over objects. If you step over an object and the person charges at you, you're going to fall over. So the point of the circle, which I should have mentioned earlier, is that you keep your feet flat on the floor and you keep control of the ground. Here's getting back to this thing again. If I've got an object where I can't push it out of the way or nudge it out of the way, because if it's solid, it's going to be difficult. I have to move around and along it, because if I don't, I'm going to go flying over it. So the strategy in the footwork tends to be more bring your feet together, not completely together, but bring your feet near each other and step around and angling off. So all the ideas which I've taught in various videos where I've spoke about turning and driving are the sort of ideas that you want to do. You have to treat it as a false wall. Try not to retreat back into it. Try to hold your ground, turn, displace the person. If they're punching, you have to try to hold as much as you can. But one of the things you don't want to do is move back, because if you move back, you're going to fall over this object. And if you fall over, you've not only got the objects on the ground with you, but you may potentially have the other guy. And worst case scenario, he might pick this up.
Might have, yeah.
You know, there's a fire extinguisher there. If I fall on the ground, there's nothing stopping him picking that up and starts, you know, smashing me over the head with it. So essentially, what I want to do is stay on my feet as much as possible. With low-level objects, there's a good chance I might trip and fall. So anything that's higher above waist height, going above here, I really essentially want to be turning, again, rotating my body to strike and covering up, obviously, and bridging the arms. Okay, anything that's below my knee height, so let's just move this out of the way again. Anything that's below my knee height, I really want to be circling. I really want to be circling around. What I don't want to do is be picking up my foot, because on the final note on this, just to emphasize it, as soon as you pick your foot up to step over something, and you imagine doing that with someone punching you in the face, it's just far too dangerous. What's going to happen is you're going to get punched in the face, and
one leg leaves the ground.
One leg leaves the ground. Whenever you're in a fight, and this is why I don't like to teach too much kicking for self-defense, is I try to get guys to keep their feet on the floor, bend their knees as much as possible, so they can bear weight and pressure, keep their chin down, stay relatively square, and try to tie people's arms up. That's our approach to teaching self-defense. But most importantly, when you've got objects, try not to step over them. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying these ideas. If you've got any comments, any thoughts, this would be a good one to discuss. I'll be happy to hear. Have a good day.